Artists have been using cameras way longer than they've admitted or that you may realize. Artists like Monet, he used them, he lied about it because he thought it undermined his virtuosity, and similarly, Jules Bastien-Lepage, I don't think he lied about his use of cameras, but it's a little known fact. He painted Joan of Arc, if you're familiar, and there's so many photos out there showing how he set up his models, photographed them, and then used series of glass to reflect the camera negatives onto his canvas and used that mechanism to make his masterworks. We, as contemporary painters, therefore, I don't think we need to be at all embarrassed by the fact that we're using cameras to make our work. The thing we do need to understand is what cameras to invest in. And so today I've actually brought in a burgeoning camera expert. My husband, Adam, is here to chat about a couple different brands that we could choose from when we're considering branching out from our cell phone for taking reference photos, and their prices and even more.
Thanks so much for having me, honey. Really happy to be here. Many of the broadcasting brushers know me, but I am the man behind the technology as well. So as we consider this decision to not only select a brand or a camera platform, we also want to consider other criteria that are really important to you as an artist, like price and utility. And so as we think about this process, we're going to walk you through some of the main criteria that we focused on, and then I'm hoping to just add a couple more tidbits of information that would be really helpful. And we'll try to break this into three main parts. So we'll focus on the brand that you move forward with. Next, we'll talk about the lenses that you select and use and why you would do so. And then third, we'll talk about training as well. So as we think about you getting the most out of your camera as a tool and the resources that you have at your disposal to really upskill with your camera as well. So first, let's talk about the brand that you move forward with. This is really important, and with many consumer products, we consider a spectrum. So there are some brands at the high end of this pricing spectrum that are unattainable for most, I would say us included, that are incredible. But these are brands also for professional photographers, people who have the discretionary funds to also afford something like this. So European brands like Leica and Hasselblad, just incredible cameras. They boast the best color profiles, but very, very difficult to work with in terms of autofocus for a novice to a mid-level photographer. As well as lenses are just astronomically priced. Just for example, some of the newer Leica models that are coming out, just the bodies alone are anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 US. Hasselblad has a camera that has a 100 megapixel sensor, which is destroying everything else in the market in terms of how many megapixels are in that sensor, but it's a $10,000 body. So we can't afford that, and so for that reason, we'll move on. If you can afford one and you're a professional photographer, I say go for it. But when we consider the brands that I think are in this sweet spot of value for money, there are about four, and I think for time's sake, we'll focus on two. So as we consider these four, we think of Lumix from Panasonic. We think of Nikon, is also a well-respected brand in this sweet spot. But the two brands that I would encourage people to really check out and double down on your research are going to be Canon and Sony. And so when I think of Canon right now for this sort of mid-tier camera brand has amazing colors, but there are a couple things that they're not keeping pace with Sony with. I think that one of those things is innovation. You're seeing that Sony is putting out cameras that are innovative, especially their cinema cameras, as well as some of their newer releases like the A1 Mark II or the A7R5, which we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. Another drawback with Canon is that they don't allow third parties to produce lenses for their cameras. And so what this means are there's some other companies that just make lenses specifically. They're usually cheaper, more affordable, and they're still very great glass, meaning you can get great picture clarity. And so that's a great option, but Canon guards their ecosystem. So that's a little bit tricky to deal with. Now, the brand that we move forward with and that we're filming this very video on is Sony. We love Sony. We plan to be in the ecosystem for a while. We've invested a good deal of money. Sony represents innovation to us. You'll hear diehard Sony fans say that's not truly the case. I think Sony's a little bit spoiled, especially for us being newer, having Sony cameras for a couple years. We are blown away by these cameras and how well they perform. Sony also has a great breakdown of cameras by use case. And so what I'm holding here is a Sony A1, not necessarily needed for an artist per se. It's much more for like action sports and wildlife where you need burst shooting and lightning fast autofocus. And so when we think about artists in the main use case, we're thinking about portraits, we're thinking about landscape, things that are a little bit more static. And so that's where you don't really need this lightning fast autofocus or this burst shooting at 40 frames per second and things like that.
Unless you're a wildlife artist out west.
Absolutely, yeah. And we can talk more about that as well. And so if you're painting animals or things like that that are in flight, that are in motion, Sony definitely has a camera for you as well. The next thing about Sony that's really important is that they have an incredible lens lineup. And we're actually going to spend a lot more time talking through lenses. But just a teaser, Sony does allow third parties to build lenses. They don't gatekeep the ecosystem, and this is a big deal. I think it actually drives innovation and spurs Sony on to develop better lenses as well. And so when we think about all the different use cases that we have use cases in our household for Stephanie to take photos of a more static nature. And so for those, we either go with the A7 IV or the A7 R5. And if we ever need to take any action shots, we've got this Sony A1 here as well. And so for my recommendation for artists, this is really important. I would say don't go any later in model than the A7R4. You're gonna get really high megapixel count. And for a nice pre-owned one, it should be less than $2,000 for the body. But you are gonna get amazing clarity in your photos. You'll be able to crop without losing a lot of resolution as well. But keep in mind that A7R4 is going to be for more static shots. If you want something that is the best hybrid camera for the price, I would go the A7 IV, which we own. Great hybrid camera, takes incredible video, takes incredible photos. That sensor is about 24 megapixels as well. Now, if you want something on the high end and you're ready to splurge, we own the A7R5. We got it used. We love it. 61 megapixel camera. That R series is also going to be more geared towards static photos, but incredible resolution and clarity. And we can crop without a lot of resolution loss as well. So as you consider brand, I really recommend researching, but I think you can almost narrow it down pretty quickly as an artist to Canon or Sony as well. The next thing that we'll briefly talk about is really going to be lenses. And this is another important piece and a little bit of a shock to us as we thought about budgeting and purchasing these cameras. In many instances, we've found that lenses can be just as expensive, if not more expensive than the body itself. And so when we think of the artist on a budget, it's really key that you make the right decision in terms of the lens that you need sooner rather than later. I would recommend thinking about perhaps a kit of 1 to 2 lenses total. And we're gonna make a really important distinction here in terms of the type of lenses that you can get. So there are cameras from Sony that are ASPC sensors, and there are cameras that are full frame mirrorless cameras. And
Lenses?
No, cameras.
Oh, okay.
And so when we think about cameras that are full frame, you want to get a full frame lens to match as well. You can put a full frame lens on an ASPC camera, but none of the cameras that I'm recommending for an artist in 2025 are going to be ASPC sensors. So if you put a full frame lens on an ASPC camera, there's actually a 15% crop. Okay, and so that's not really giving you the true focal length that you want. So the lenses that I'm going to talk about, let's just consider them all to be full frame lenses. Okay. So the distinction that we want to make is going to be between a prime and a zoom lens. Zoom lenses are extremely versatile, and as the title denotes, you can actually zoom in or zoom out and change the focal range that you want. So this is extremely helpful. Think of if you're taking a landscape and you need to get a different composition and you want to get more of the scene in frame, you're going to zoom in with your lens. And when you consider a prime lens in comparison, a prime lens has no zoom. And so in that scenario that I described of a landscape, to get more of the shot in frame, you would have to move, right? And walk forward or walk backwards to address what you're getting in frame. Now, there are camera snobs out there that specifically shoot with primes because typically the glass has been known to be clearer, and they are also better in lower light conditions because they have a wider aperture. So this lens that I have on this camera is a Sony 50 millimeter f1.2 prime lens, one of our favorite lenses, particularly for portraits. And it's a prime lens, so you can't zoom, okay? But incredible glass, incredible clarity, and it does better in low light as well. And so as you consider these types of lenses, zoom versus prime, zooms in recent years, and this is what I was talking about with Sony and innovation, zoom lenses have come a long, long way in terms of the clarity of the glass and how they can do in low light. And so Sony is releasing some lenses now that are absolutely incredible. They've got a 70 to 200, they've got a 50 to 150 that came out, extremely versatile. I'm not going to be able to give you a word picture of what a 50 to 150 focal length looks like, but you can consider it like this. Like you could take a really beautiful portrait with a lot of bokeh in the background, which is just kind of blurring the background, or you could take a landscape, and be very far away, like maybe 100 yards away and still get a great shot. And so recommendation for the kit would be, if you're gonna do a lot of portraits, I would get a prime. I'd probably go with a 50 or an 85 millimeter prime lens. But if you're looking for a couple do-it-all lenses, it could be a buy once, cry once situation, and get something like, we have a 24 to 70 G Master lens from Sony that you can go from 24 millimeters to 70 millimeters and everything in between. Really, really impactful. So just take that into consideration as you're focused on the lens that you purchase. And then lastly, wrapping things up, something that was really important to us was, okay, we spent all this money in gear, how do we get the most utility out of it? How do we make sure that what we've spent money on is not only going to be a return on investment, but that it's going to give Stephanie the ability to do justice to the scene or to the person that we have photographed. And there are a couple of things that I would recommend right away is train, and like Stephanie says with her painting, get some mileage as well. These cameras are rated for shutter counts of over 500,000, meaning you can take over 500,000 pictures and your camera shouldn't break. So that should really give you the freedom to go out there and just shoot pictures, work on composition, learn the exposure triangle, so on and so forth. What you can do also is you can take classes. We haven't actually done that yet. I'm a little bit more self-taught, taking the long way. But you can absolutely go to classes at your local camera store.
The YouTube way?
I'm assuming that there are probably other people in your network or in your area who would be willing to teach you. You don't have to search too far, I think, to find at least like an amateur or professional photographer. So consider that, consider training. It could really help you upskill faster. The next thing that we focused on was just being self-taught through YouTube. And I cannot tell you enough, YouTube is such an incredible resource. And I'll actually add as well, you can use artificial intelligence to teach you more about the exposure triangle as well as you get to know your camera. Artificial intelligence leverages everything about your brand, the camera model, the lens model that you use, and it can actually spit out settings that you can use in the real world with great results. But do not be afraid to go on YouTube and type in your camera model or how to expose a shot properly, how to learn composition. One of our favorites by far is Simon D'Entremont. I think he actually shoots on Canon, which we'll forgive him. But an incredible wildlife photographer, one of the best in the world for sure, but an amazing teacher. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to go learn more about that as well. The last thing that we'll talk about as well is editing. Editing is really important. And right now it seems like there's only really one software that's like the editing king that is ubiquitous across creators, photographers, videographers, and that really is Adobe Lightroom. I'm sure most of you have heard about that, but editing your photos in post to really dial in how your photo looks is also incredible. Things like learning how to read a histogram in terms of your shadows, midtones, and highlights, and just making a picture that is frameable, that you're getting these vibrant, true-to-life colors is really important. And you can teach yourself, again, how to edit on Lightroom through tools like YouTube as well. And so we've gone through a lot today, but looking back, we think of a couple of different things that we talked about. First, choosing the right brand, and then considering the right lenses. And then lastly, we finished up with talking about how do you train to upskill with the tool that you just bought so that you can have an amazing painting, an amazing likeness as well.
Thank you. One thing I'll add is, where can you get these cameras? Lots of different ways. We've got some of our cameras brand new from local camera stores. There's a wide variety online with Robert's Camera. They actually have a location here in our town, so we've gone there for many, but you can buy them online. We've even done some Facebook Marketplace. You do have to be careful about not getting scammed. So you really have to do your research and vet the person, but we've had really good success with that. Where else have we gotten them?
We've done B&H out of New York City, but we really can't recommend Robert's Camera enough.
No.
It's incredible. Used Photo Pro is also an extension of Robert's, and you can get anything you need at much more reasonable, attractive prices. For somebody who doesn't have the discerning eye, I would be very wary of Facebook Marketplace. Yeah. Anytime you start to go up in transaction value on Facebook Marketplace, you really need to meet at like a police station or somewhere safe. And so I think it would make more sense for us to recommend a place like Robert's, a place like B&H, where you just have that peace of mind. You don't need to be risking anything.
Yep. I hope this is helpful for you as you maybe be considering upgrading your technology. Like I said, from your iPhone, it's no longer serving you. Your skills have surpassed what your cell phone camera can give you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments below. Let us know what camera you're using if you're a seasoned photographer, artist. We are always curious to hear what other people are working with, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, hon, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
If you want to see how these cameras perform, you should join us for Broadcasting Brushers and come paint along with me. We have one of these cameras pointed at my painting and my palette, so you can see those picture in picture and watch the process of me making a painting for 3 hours, twice a month. What am I painting? I'm painting a live model. We have a third camera pointed at a live model who ironically sits right in this position in our studio, and you get to paint them or draw them in 4K resolution from a 4K resolution live stream. Again, that's twice a month, hosting live painting together. It's not just local, it's global. We have 75 artists from around the world joining our live stream and are in the community sharing their pieces, their questions. We're chatting together, we're growing together, and it is so much fun. You see and hear a lot of me. You see much less and hear less, unfortunately, of Adam, but he's there every step of the way, manning all of these cameras and the tech and answering questions and helping make sure people get the most out of their experience. So check us out on Patreon, Broadcasting Brushers.